Yeah, so you got a homework assignment out there. Justin did his best digging and did not find anybody in the country that passed for less yards than Michigan. You
I
automatically go to Army, you go to the military academies, not even there.
I looked. I just pulled up Army stats again. They threw the ball 4 times and still passed for 98 yards. So Michigan throwing the ball for 15 times. I thought Cade McNamara, he didn't look as comfortable as he did in week one. But I know that they weren't trying to have that as a big piece of the game, but he still just didn't look like the same guy. And so 7 for 15 for 44 yards. Man, that is a pretty crazy stat line when you think about they scored 31 points and won by 3 scores.
Michigan beats up on Washington 31-10. Of course, the Huskies were a top 25 team before the season started, lost that disappointing game to Montana leading into the Michigan game. So the detractors in week one always say, okay, well, we don't know how good that team is that you just beat because they've never played anybody. And then maybe it's doubly so in week two if you beat somebody who looked bad in week one and didn't meet expectations. So there are some that are going to be slow to be convinced, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So Michigan, wow, they put the clamps down. This was not a game. They had a shutout going for a long, long time in this game. Washington obviously was anemic on offense, even against Montana the previous week. So again, you can point to, well, Washington's inept, but at the same time, Michigan did exactly what you should do against an offense that's struggling and just completely put down the hammer.
Yeah, for sure. And they did by the end of it, but I thought this defense, on the offensive side, they did by the end of it, put down the hammer. But this defense did it from the first play of the game. That Josh Ross came out and had a TFL for the first play of the game, and it set the tone for everything. Actually, Washington came out that before they actually ran a first play and had a delay of game because the big house was so loud. They were a little bit disoriented. So I thought this defense, that was one of the best. I mean, obviously, we've only seen Mike McDonald in 2 games here as the D coordinator, but that was an unbelievable performance by this defense. Aiden Hutchinson deserves national recognition for what he's doing right now. 2.5 sacks on the day. He had 3 solo tackles, 1 assist. He really is just that guy that sets the tone. And he's going, okay, I agree with you, that Washington offense is not they're not a premier offense. But that left tackle that Aiden Hutchinson was going against is a projected, NFL draft pick. And so for him to put that guy on skates multiple times on Saturday and really had quite the dominant performance, I thought that was really what set the tone. I thought it was really impressive by Aiden. I think he should be on a national level as one of the top defensive ends, probably top 3 defensive end in the country. The rest of this defense, I thought the linebackers did really well as well. Just the energy, they were running to the ball, they were flying around. This secondary was they have, I think, the most pass breakups in 2 weeks since 2009 for a 2-game stretch. So for a secondary that last year couldn't break up anything, for them to start having those types of stats is pretty exciting. But who's coming to town this week, Mark? Rocky Lombardi's coming to town as the quarterback of Northern Illinois, who opened up quite the career day last year for the Spartans in Michigan Stadium.
Yeah, Rocky Lombardi of 320 yards and all those big bombs downfield against Michigan, and Sparty's upset, of course, last week. And I'm glad you last year and you reminded me of that, because I thought of that during the off season a number of times with Northern Illinois coming to town, coming off a 50-43 loss to Wyoming. So I haven't checked out the box score, but sounds like they were pretty productive. And then a previous game win upset in Atlanta over Georgia Tech. So Aiden Hutchinson, I'm glad that you brought that up in a couple different veins here, because number one, yes, it's one thing to say, oh, Washington's offense is awful and Aiden Hutchinson should have a great game, but you got to look at the individual matchups, and yeah, he's up against an NFL prospect and certainly won the battle more times than not. The reason I was impressed and give recognition to Aiden Hutchinson. I showed this to my son. I showed this to a friend. Is they showed this crazy weightlifting regimen that he has,
Oh
where he's
my
got the
God.
barbell in one hand with 135 pounds, and he's getting up and he's able to keep that level. That's crazy.
I think if you gave me a 15-pound dumbbell, I couldn't do that. And I mean, for him to balance an entire barbell, but it's what some people are bench pressing, like it just really is insane to show how big of a freakish athlete he is and how strong he is. But you can tell when he's on the field, he shows that how strong he is when he pushes those all linemen back. And the thing that really impresses me more than that, you expect a D lineman to be pretty strong, right? But his feet, he is so quick. He does a one little stutter step a couple times, and that O lineman is doing a big old whiff of him, and all of a sudden, Aiden Hutchinson is in the backfield. The one play where he had he blew it up. He almost took the handoff. Essentially, he was in the backfield so quickly and forced that fumble as well. But it's just really impressive, and I think that he's going to go down as one of the great defensive ends in Michigan football history. That's for sure.
Just to get everybody caught up on Rocky Lombardi, despite the 43 points put up against Wyoming, it was mostly the rushing attack at 6.5 yards per carry. A touchdown, 3 picks, 19 for 36 against Wyoming. Did have a nice little effort with 2 touchdowns and no turnovers against Georgia Tech, as Northern Illinois scored late to win 22-21 at an ACC opponent, albeit maybe the worst team in the league, still with a big win for NIU there against Georgia Tech. We got Justin Rowe on the line. Catch his podcast, Blue by 90. How's that working out for you? How's that going at this point?
It's going well. It's going well. We throw a tailgate on game days and stuff like that. We have a pod. We've got a few good guests coming on, Michigan insiders and stuff like that. So it's been going well. You can check it out. We just put up our Washington recap up today as well. So check out what we thought about the game. But yeah, I mean, it was a fun weekend in Ann Arbor. I'll tell you that. That was one of the best atmospheres I've ever seen for the Big House. People are itching to get back and it's fun to see the whole maze out. The pom-poms are back. Michigan at prime time, the night game. So I don't know how we'll follow up, with the noon game against Northern Illinois the next week. People might be a little, have a little hangover there from that. But, I will say, going back to your Rocky Lombardi comment too, with him throwing 3 picks against Wyoming, it just baffles everybody more and more about what happened in Ann Arbor last year when he was playing for the Spartans. So I have a feeling that this defense is going to be looking for revenge, and he could have a long day if I had to guess.
That could be just the incentive and just the edge that this defense and the team in general needs, knowing that, this is Northern Illinois coming to town. Oh, Rocky Lombardi. Yeah, he burned us and torched us and embarrassed us as a 22-point favorite in our house last year. Yeah.
Exactly. I think that's how it's going to go. I mean, I don't think Northern Illinois is on, a Michigan's level at all. So I wouldn't expect them to do that.